Hello. You're watching Global English Stories, where stories come to life and help you learn English naturally. Listen, enjoy, and start your learning journey.
Introduction. Everyone knows the name Gucci. It is written on bags, clothes, shoes, and perfumes. Many people think of it as a symbol of luxury. But do you know the story behind the brand? Do you know the man who started it and the family drama that almost destroyed it? This is the story of Gucci, a story of dreams, fashion, success, and problems. It begins in Italy more than 100 years ago. A young man named Guccio Gucci worked as a hotel worker. One day, he looked at the rich guests and their beautiful luggage. He thought, I want to make something this special. That thought started everything. Gucci was not just about bags. It became a big name in fashion. Many rich and famous people started buying Gucci. But the family behind it had many fights. They argued about money, power, and the future of the brand. At one point, the founder's grandson was murdered. The story was in the news around the world. Later, designers like Tom Ford gave Gucci a new life. Today, Gucci is one of the most famous fashion brands in the world. From one small store in Florence to hundreds of shops in many countries, Gucci has come a long way. Let's go back in time and follow the story of Gucci. From its beginning to its place in today's fashion world, this is a story full of style, dreams, and surprises. Part 1. The early life of Guccio Gucci and the birth of an idea. Guccio Gucci was born in 1881 in Florence, Italy. Florence was a city known for art, design, and old traditions. Guccio's family was not rich. His father, Gabriello, worked as a leather craftsman. He made simple leather goods to earn money. As a boy, Guccio watched his father work. He saw how leather could be shaped into useful and beautiful things. But young Guccio wanted more than a quiet life in a small workshop. He dreamed of big cities, travel, and something different. In his early 20s, Guccio left Florence. He moved to London to find work. At the time, London was one of the most exciting cities in Europe. It was full of lights, fine hotels, and wealthy visitors. Guccio found a job at the famous Savoy Hotel, one of the best hotels in the city. He worked there as a porter, carrying bags and helping guests. This job changed his life. At the Savoy, Guccio saw luxury up close. He noticed how rich people dressed, how they acted, and what they carried. He paid special attention to their luggage. Wealthy guests brought fine leather trunks and elegant travel bags. These items were not just for carrying things. They were symbols of class, style, and wealth. Each bag was made with great care, using the best leather and perfect stitching. Guccio was fascinated. He also saw something deeper. These rich travelers wanted more than strong bags. They wanted beauty, quality, and uniqueness. Their luggage had names and patterns. The best brands stood out. Guccio began to understand that leather goods could be more than tools. They could be fashion, identity, and status. He worked at the Savoy for several years. During that time, he learned by watching. He had no formal training in design or business, but he was smart, quiet, and always paying attention. He took mental notes on style, customer service, and how luxury brands made people feel special. Slowly, an idea began to grow in his mind. Guccio returned to Florence with a new purpose. He had seen what the world wanted. He believed he could bring that kind of luxury to Italy. Florence had great leather workers, but most sold simple goods. Guccio wanted to offer something more elegant. Handmade leather products with fine details, made for people who loved both beauty and quality. At first, life was not easy. He had no shop of his own, so he worked for others in the leather trade, learning more about materials, techniques, and customers. He saved money and built relationships. He was careful and patient. Guccio was not in a hurry. He wanted to be ready before starting something on his own. By 1921, he was ready. Guccio was 40 years old. Many would say that was too late to begin. But for him, the time was perfect. He had learned from his father's tools, from the streets of Florence, and from the luxury halls of London. He had the skills, the vision, and the courage to begin. He decided to open his own business. His plan was simple but bold. Make fine leather products that could stand with the best in Europe. He did not want to copy what he had seen in London. Instead, he wanted to create something Italian, something that honored the past but looked toward the future. Guccio found a small workshop in Florence. He hired local craftsmen who were skilled with leather. Together, they began creating travel bags, trunks, and accessories. Every item was handmade with care. He chose strong leather, clean lines, and classic shapes. His products did not shout. They spoke softly with elegance. At that time, there were no loud advertisements or fashion shows. Success came through word of mouth. People would see a fine bag on someone's arm and ask, "Where did you get that?" Bit by bit, the name Gucci began to travel. Guccio was deeply involved in every part of the work. He spoke to customers, checked each item, and trained his workers. He believed that quality was the heart of luxury. If a product was not perfect, it did not leave the workshop. His early clients were people of taste, businessmen, aristocrats, and travelers. They wanted goods that were not only useful, but also beautiful. Guccio gave him that. His shop became known for its high standards. People who bought from him felt proud. They were not just buying a bag, they were buying a piece of art. Guccio's idea was working. Without any noise, without any rush, he had started something new, a quiet revolution in leather. A brand born from the hands of a porter, the eyes of a dreamer, and the soul of an artist. And so, from a small street in Florence, the first chapter of Gucci began, with soft steps, sharp vision, and the smell of fine leather in the air. Part 2. The first Gucci store in Florence and its early growth. In 1921, Guccio Gucci opened his first store in Florence. It was located on Via della Vigna Nuova, a street known for style and elegance. The shop was small but special. It offered handmade leather bags, travel trunks, and saddles for horses. Each item was crafted with care. The shop looked simple from the outside, but inside, it held a quiet charm that pulled people in. At that time, travel was becoming popular among the rich. Many people from Europe and America visited Italy. Florence was a favorite stop. These travelers needed bags, suitcases, and accessories for their long journeys. Gucci's shop met their needs. His items were strong, beautiful, and different. Customers loved the clean lines, the fine leather, and the old-world Italian touch. Guccio believed in tradition, but he also welcomed new ideas. His shop became a place where old craftsmanship met modern style. Soon, word began to spread. Wealthy tourists told their friends about a small leather shop in Florence that made perfect bags. Local Italians also started to take notice. To grow the business, Guccio involved his family. His sons, Aldo, Vasco, and Rodolfo, joined him in the workshop. Each son brought something valuable. Aldo had a sharp mind for business. Vasco focused on production. Rodolfo, a former actor, understood style and presentation. With his sons at his side, Guccio's dream began to expand. In the 1930s, Italy was facing difficult times. The country was under a fascist regime, and imported materials were hard to find. Many companies suffered, but Gucci found creative ways to survive. When foreign leather was not available, they used local materials like linen and jute. One special creation during this time was the bamboo bag. Made with a bamboo handle, it became a clever answer to shortages and a lasting design that still stands today. The bamboo bag was more than just a smart idea. It showed the world that Gucci could mix beauty and function, even during crisis. This bag became a symbol of the brand style. Simple, elegant, and inventive. By the 1940s, the Gucci brand had become well known across Italy. The company opened a second store in Rome in 1938, near the famous Spanish Steps. This move was important. Rome had a mix of rich locals and tourists. The new store brought Gucci closer to a global crowd. Inside the stores, the experience was always the same. Products were arranged with care. Staff treated customers with respect. Gucci was not just selling goods. It was offering a feeling of luxury, trust, and tradition. Guccio Gucci believed that quality must never drop, even when the business grew. He trained every worker to check each stitch and every cut of leather. He told his sons, "We must never forget where we came from." This idea stayed strong in the company for many years. In 1951, Gucci opened its third store, this time in Milan. Milan was the fashion capital of Italy. This store showed that Gucci was ready to stand among the great names in Italian design. It also marked the beginning of something bigger, the idea that Gucci could grow beyond Italy. But Guccio did not live to see the full global success of his brand. He passed away in 1953. Just weeks before his death, Gucci opened its first store outside Italy, in New York City. That small step across the Atlantic would later turn into a great leap for the company. Guccio left behind more than a store. He left behind a way of thinking. He taught his family that true luxury comes from hard work, fine detail, and deep respect for the customer. His vision gave birth to one of the world's most famous fashion houses. And in the quiet corners of that Florence shop, between the smell of leather and the soft sounds of cutting tools, the Gucci name was already preparing to travel far beyond Italy. Part 3. The Global Rise of Gucci, from Italy to the World. After Guccio Gucci's death in 1953, his sons took full control of the company. Aldo, Vasco, and Rodolfo had worked closely with their father. Now they had the task of protecting his vision and expanding it. The first step had already been taken. Just before Guccio died, the family had opened the first Gucci store in New York City. It was a small shop, but it was the beginning of something big. New York in the 1950s was the center of business, fashion, and fame. The city was full of energy, and people there loved European luxury. Gucci quickly caught the attention of American customers. The brand's clean designs, quality leather, and Italian charm stood out. Wealthy clients, celebrities, and even Hollywood stars started buying Gucci bags and shoes. Gucci's success in America helped the brand grow faster. The New York store became a symbol. It showed the world that an Italian family business could compete with the best international names. After New York, the company opened more stores in big cities around the world: London, Paris, and Tokyo. One of the biggest reasons for Gucci's rise was Aldo Gucci. He was the strongest voice among the brothers. Aldo was smart, confident, and full of big ideas. He knew how to market the brand. He introduced the famous Gucci logo, the double G. These two letters, taken from the founder's initials, became a mark of style. The double G appeared on bags, belts, and scarves. It made Gucci easy to recognize. People started seeing it not just as a product, but as a symbol of fashion. Aldo also pushed for more than just leather goods. He expanded the product line. Gucci began to offer shoes, clothing, watches, and perfumes. Everything was made with quality, and each item carried the same feeling of classic elegance. Even though the company was growing fast, the family made sure that Italian craftsmanship stayed at the heart of every product. In the 1960s, Gucci became a true icon of luxury. Famous people were seen wearing it everywhere. Jackie Kennedy, the First Lady of the United States, often carried a Gucci bag. That bag became so famous, it was later named the Jackie bag. Elizabeth Taylor, Grace Kelly, and Peter Sellers were also fans. In this time, Gucci wasn't just a brand, it was a lifestyle. By the 1970s, Gucci had stores in cities across Europe, the United States, and Asia. It was one of the most recognized luxury brands in the world. But with all this success came new challenges. The company was still family-owned. The brothers shared power, but not always peacefully. As the company grew, so did tensions between Aldo, Rodolfo, and their children. Even during the early signs of conflict, Gucci kept moving forward. The brand continued to grow, and new ideas kept coming. One of the most famous was the green-red-green stripe, based on the saddle strap used in horseback riding. This stripe, like the double G logo, became part of Gucci's identity. It appeared on bags, shoes, and accessories, making the brand even more recognizable. In 1972, Gucci opened a store in Beverly Hills. This was an important moment because it brought the brand closer to Hollywood. Movie stars loved Gucci's sleek, classic look. Paparazzi often photographed celebrities in Gucci sunglasses, holding Gucci bags. The brand was shining under the California sun. The 1970s were also a time of innovation. Gucci began to experiment with new materials, bold prints, and brighter colors. While still respecting its roots, the brand was not afraid to change. This made it exciting, modern, and different from other luxury names. But with fast growth and rising profits, trouble began to appear. The unity of the Gucci family started to break. Differences in ideas, power struggles, and jealousy started to affect the business. The family members had different goals. Some wanted to stay traditional, while others wanted faster expansion. These tensions would later become more serious. But at this stage, the company was still moving forward. In 1981, Gucci held its first fashion show in Florence. Until then, the brand had been known mostly for accessories. This fashion show marked a new beginning. It showed the world that Gucci was ready to become a full fashion house. The event was a success, and it confirmed that the brand could do more than bags and shoes. By the early 1980s, Gucci had become a global name. It stood for elegance, wealth, and Italian style. It was one of the first fashion brands to expand worldwide while keeping its identity strong. From a small shop in Florence to runways in Paris and New York, Gucci had written a new chapter in fashion history. And behind every product, every store window, and every shining logo, there was still a quiet voice whispering the same promise. Timeless beauty, born in Italy, made for the world. Part 4. Family conflicts, legal battles, and global expansion. As Gucci became one of the most famous fashion brands in the world, the story behind the scenes became more complex. What started as a family business filled with pride and tradition slowly turned into a stage for fights, power struggles, and painful legal battles. The company had grown too fast, and now the family was struggling to control it. After Guccio Gucci passed away in 1953, his sons Aldo, Rodolfo, and Vasco had taken control. Vasco died in 1974, leaving Aldo and Rodolfo as the main figures. Aldo had been the face of global expansion. He opened stores in New York, Tokyo, and other major cities. Rodolfo stayed in Italy and focused more on the brand's image and design. Both wanted Gucci to succeed, but they didn't always agree on how to run the business. The real problems began when the next generation entered the company. Aldo brought in his sons, Giorgio, Paolo, and Roberto, to help manage Gucci's growing empire. But not all of them had the same talent or vision as their father. Giorgio focused on leather goods, Roberto worked in South America, and Paolo tried to bring in new ideas. Paolo wanted to create his own fashion line under the Gucci name, but Aldo refused. This created tension between father and son. In 1980, Paolo tried to launch his own Gucci-branded business without permission. Aldo and the rest of the family stopped him, leading to a serious fight. Paolo didn't give up. Instead, he took legal action and even gave information to U.S. tax officials, accusing his father Aldo of hiding money. Aldo was later convicted of tax evasion and sent to prison in 1986 at the age of 81. It was a shocking fall for the man who had built Gucci into a global name. While Aldo's family was falling apart, Rodolfo's side of the family was watching closely. Rodolfo had one son, Maurizio Gucci. When Rodolfo died in 1983, Maurizio inherited his father's 50% share of the company. This gave him a powerful position. Maurizio wanted full control, and he soon began working to push Aldo and his sons out of the business. The family conflict grew deeper. Lawsuits were filed, angry meetings took place, and trust was broken forever. Eventually, Maurizio succeeded. With the help of outside investors and legal power, he removed Aldo and gained full control of Gucci in 1989. But the battles had taken a toll on the brand. Gucci was no longer a united family business. It had become a company full of anger, secrets, and broken relationships. And while the fights continued inside, the outside world had started to change. The fashion industry was moving fast, and Gucci was falling behind. Under Mauricio's leadership, the company tried to rebuild its image. But he had little experience in running a fashion empire. He spent a lot of money and made risky decisions. Sales began to drop. The magic that had once surrounded Gucci was starting to fade. Meanwhile, new luxury brands were rising. Competitors like Louis Vuitton and Prada were becoming stronger. They offered modern styles and better marketing. Gucci was still respected, but it was losing its place in the fashion race. To save the brand, Maurizio made a bold move. He sold a large part of the company to Investcorp, a Bahrain-based investment group, in the late 1980s. By 1993, Maurizio sold his remaining shares. For the first time, Gucci was no longer owned by the Gucci family. It was the end of an era. Even as the family stepped away, the Gucci name still held great value. People around the world still remembered the golden days of the brand, the quality, the style, and the Italian craftsmanship. Investors believed that Gucci could rise again if it had the right leadership and new vision. In the early 1990s, Gucci hired a young American designer named Tom Ford to help with their fashion line. He had fresh ideas, a strong sense of style, and bold designs. Tom Ford didn't just follow the old Gucci look. He changed it. He made it modern, sexy, and full of attitude. The world started to notice. With new leadership in place, Gucci was ready for a comeback. But even then, the shadow of the family's past continued to follow the brand. The name Gucci still reminded people of luxury, but also of family fights, scandals, and broken dreams. What had once been a proud Italian family business had become a global brand with no members of the founding family left in charge. Still, the brand survived. It changed, adapted, and prepared itself for a new era. In the middle of all this business and fashion, something darker was about to happen. A shocking event would soon shake the world of Gucci and make headlines across the globe. And this time, it wouldn't be about leather or fashion. It would be about betrayal, jealousy, and murder. Part 5. The Murder of Maurizio Gucci and Crisis in the Company. By the early 1990s, Maurizio Gucci had lost control of the company that carried his family name. After years of legal battles and financial struggles, he sold his remaining shares in 1993 to the investment firm Investcorp. With this decision, the Gucci family's direct connection to the brand came to an end. But the drama in Mauricio's life was far from over. Maurizio had always lived a high-profile life. He was known for his luxury lifestyle, expensive taste, and bold choices. After taking full control of Gucci in the 1980s, he tried to rebuild the brand. But his management style was criticized. He spent large amounts of money on offices, yachts, and events. The business suffered. Investors became worried. And finally, he was forced to sell. Outside of business, Mauricio's personal life was also troubled. He had married Patricia Reggiani in 1972, and they had 2 daughters. At first, their life seemed like a fairy tale, rich, glamorous, and filled with luxury. But over time, their marriage fell apart. They separated in 1985, and the divorce was finalized in 1994. The end of their relationship was bitter, and Patricia felt deeply hurt and angry. Patricia had played a role in Mauricio's rise. She had helped him make connections and understand the world of luxury. After the divorce, she was no longer part of the Gucci world. Maurizio moved on with a new partner. Patricia, however, could not let go. In her mind, Maurizio had taken everything from her. He had left her, sold the family business, and started a new life without her. Over time, her anger turned into something more dangerous. She began talking to people about how much she hated him. Some of those people were not friends. They were criminals. On the morning of March 27, 1995, Maurizio Gucci was walking up the steps to his office building in Milan. It was a normal day. He had a new life now, and he was no longer part of the Gucci company. But someone was watching him. As he reached the door, a man walked up behind him and shot him 3 times in the back. Then, a final shot to the head. Maurizio Gucci was dead. The murder shocked Italy and the world. The name Gucci was once again in the news, but now for something tragic. People could not believe that a man from such a famous family could be killed on a city street in daylight. At first, no one knew who had done it. The police searched for answers. For nearly 2 years, the case stayed open. Then, in 1997, there was a major breakthrough. An informer came forward with information. The killer had been hired, and behind it all was Maurizio's ex-wife, Patricia Reggiani. The story that came out in court was shocking. Patricia had paid a hitman, along with a group of helpers, to kill her former husband. She had planned it carefully, using people she trusted to arrange the murder. She was later arrested and put on trial. In 1998, Patricia was found guilty and sentenced to 29 years in prison. The media called her the Black Widow. Newspapers around the world covered the story. The murder, the luxury, the jealousy. It was a real-life crime story that shocked millions. While the drama filled headlines, the Gucci company itself was trying to survive. The murder had hurt the brand's image. The name Gucci had always stood for elegance, fashion, and power. Now, it was also linked to scandal and violence. But inside the company, something was changing. New leadership was in place. Tom Ford, a young American designer, was bringing new energy. Domenico De Sole was managing the business side. Together, they worked hard to rebuild trust and style. Tom Ford designs were bold, modern, and exciting. He understood what young people wanted. He gave Gucci a fresh voice. Under his direction, the brand returned to the spotlight, not for scandal, but for fashion. By the late 1990s, Gucci was back on top. It was now part of a larger luxury group and competing with the biggest names in the world. Investors returned. Customers loved the new look. The murder of Maurizio remained a dark chapter, but Gucci was no longer defined by it. As for Patricia Reggiani, she served 18 years in prison before being released in 2016. She remained a controversial figure. Some viewed her as a criminal, others as a tragic part of the Gucci story. She continued to give interviews, always wearing designer clothes and never showing regret. Mauricio's death marked the final break between the Gucci family and the company, but it also became a turning point. From that moment, Gucci had to move forward without any family influence. And strangely, in the years that followed the tragedy, the brand experienced its greatest comeback. The story was not over. A new chapter was beginning, one led not by family, but by talent, creativity, and bold vision. Part 6, The Comeback. Tom Ford, New Leadership, and Gucci Today. After the dark days following Maurizio Gucci's murder, the company stood at a crossroads. The Gucci name still carried weight, but it needed a new identity. The family was gone. The scandals were over. Now, it was time to decide what Gucci would be in the future. In 1994, before Maurizio sold his shares, a young designer named Tom Ford had quietly stepped into the role of creative director. He was bold, modern, and full of fresh ideas. Tom had been working behind the scenes at Gucci since 1990, but now he had the power to change things. And that's exactly what he did. Tom Ford understood the moment. He saw that fashion was becoming faster, younger, and more exciting. He didn't want Gucci to be just a luxury brand for the old world. He wanted to make it sexy, stylish, and loud. His first collection in 1995 shocked the industry. Models wore sleek velvet suits, shiny shirts, and bold colors. It was daring, and it worked. Sales began to rise. The media paid attention. Suddenly, Gucci was not just alive. It was leading the fashion world. Ford's designs became a symbol of modern luxury. People around the globe wanted Gucci again. Alongside Ford was Domenico De Sole, a smart businessman who helped rebuild the company. Together, they formed a perfect team. Ford brought style. De Sole brought structure. The company was cleaned up, rebranded, and reborn. But success brought new challenges. In the late 1990s, bigger fashion groups were growing. Gucci became the target of a battle between two luxury giants, LVMH and PPR, now Kering. LVMH, led by Bernard Arnault, tried to take control. But Gucci did not give in. In 1999, PPR stepped in and took a large share of the company. This gave Gucci support and safety in a very competitive world. With strong financial backing, Ford and Dassault expanded the Gucci group. They bought other fashion brands like Yves Saint Laurent, Balenciaga, and Bottega Veneta. Gucci was no longer just a brand. It was becoming a fashion empire. But in 2004, things changed again. Tom Ford and Domenico Dassault both left Gucci after disagreements with the new owners. It was the end of a golden age. Many feared that Gucci would lose its style and power without them. The years that followed were not easy. Gucci tried different creative directors and new strategies. Some collections did well, others did not. The brand struggled to find its voice again. But behind the scenes, the foundation built by Ford and Dassault remained strong. Then, in 2015, another big change came. Alessandro Michele, a designer who had worked at Gucci for years, was named creative director. His vision was different from Ford's. It was romantic, soft, and filled with art and vintage touches. His first collection surprised everyone. Instead of bold sex appeal, Michele brought a dreamy, poetic style. At first, many critics were unsure, but soon, fashion lovers around the world embraced his work. Gucci became a symbol of individuality. People loved its mix of old and new, classic and strange. Michele turned Gucci into a voice for a new generation, one that loved expression, freedom, and playfulness. Gucci's success continued to grow. With strong marketing, digital campaigns, and global stores, it became one of the most powerful brands in the world. Young customers, especially in Asia and the United States, fell in love with its unique look. Under Kering's leadership, Gucci also focused on sustainability, diversity, and social responsibility. The company made efforts to reduce waste, support women in leadership, and become a voice for positive change in the fashion industry. In 2022, Michele stepped down. Once again, Gucci prepared for a new chapter. In 2023, Sabato de Sarno was announced as the next creative director. People were curious. What would Gucci become now? De Sarno brought a new energy, clean lines, simplicity, and a return to elegance. His goal was to bring balance after years of rich, expressive designs. As the fashion world changed again, so did Gucci. Today, Gucci stands strong. It is no longer just a brand with a rich past. It is a leader shaping the future. The company blends history with innovation, luxury with meaning, and fashion with purpose. The story of Gucci is not just about clothes. It's about power, family, tragedy, and rebirth. From a small leather shop in Florence to one of the biggest names in fashion, Gucci has seen everything: success, failure, murder, and comeback. And even now, the name continues to inspire, to challenge, and to shine on runways across the globe. Gucci's future shines bright, blending tradition with fresh ideas, ready to inspire generations to come. This is more than just a fashion brand. It is a legend that continues to grow and evolve every day. If you enjoyed the story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Keep learning, keep growing, and one story at a time.